Mr. Manat, is Dr. Smith available?
Yes, he
Ask
is.
him up, please.
Dr. Smith? Dr. Smith, can you take the stand, please?
You ready?
Let's go to the, right around to the end over there.
Won't you have a seat? Good morning. Okay, we're ready to pick up where we left off. Could you please state your name, please?
Your Honor, and before we begin, we'd like to file an objection to the order that's being presented right now of the witness.
Okay.
And the reason is that the witness is initially yesterday at the end of the hearing, it was stated that Mr. and Wallace Ishibashi was going to be presented. And in fact, the UH counsel stated that they were going to actually remove Eben and Smith as direct testimony and bring them as rebuttal witnesses. So right now the switch is, now they're presenting and bringing forth Mr. Smith not as a rebuttal witness, but as a direct testimony witness. And they're also changing the order up in which everyone here was prepared to do cross-examination with Mr. Ishibashi. And that's my objection to having Mr. Smith start us off today.
Ms. Ward?
Much deference to Dr. Smith, who was my former botany professor, but I must say that because I raised the issue yesterday, I said, who should I direct Dr. Smith's questions to? And I did not say, please bring him back. I just said, please tell me who to direct them to. It is a problem for us if yesterday we were all prepared for Mr. Nance today, and then we were told it was Mr. Ishibashi today. So we quickly prepared for Mr. Ishibashi today, and now it's Dr. Smith, and that's not acceptable because people are not ready.
Ms.
I may
Ward,
be ready, it doesn't mean anybody else is.
And why is it that you're ready?
Because I know Dr. Smith and I know the subject. It doesn't mean everybody else knows that.
And you knew that he was scheduled to testify this week?
No, I did not.
His name was given to us last week, or the last time we were here.
The university sent us a message on Election Day saying that Dr. Smith and Dr. Iben had been removed as witnesses. So there is no reason why any of us brought any of the materials that were supposed to be brought. Mrs.
I see.
Aluli came from Oahu without her Smith documents because she was under the impression, as the rest of us were.
Just a minute. I did not know that until you just said it. And yesterday, when you folks objected that they were taken off, I thought it was because you were prepared to go because we thought they were coming. I did not receive the message, so I didn't know.
Are you familiar with the fact that the university, Mrs. Imai, sent the documents that included a supplemental exhibit list, and that exhibit list at the very bottom in tiny letters on Election Day said that Dr. Smith and Dr. Iben had been removed as witnesses?
I am not familiar with that.
Okay, well, the rest of us got that, so we didn't think that either of those witnesses was available, which is why I asked the
Okay, I hear
question.
your objection.
Thank you.
Is it the same objection, Ms. Pashota?
It is, but I just want to add one more thing to the mix here is, and I'm sorry I keep bringing this up, but I'm having a hard time articulating it. This is the problem of, because we are non-lawyers, and that's why we asked for that 48-hour, and this is where it comes into clear focus. We don't have that notice for Mr. Smith, the 48-hour notice. Because, if we're in hearing all day, we only have the nighttime to prepare, and that's why we kind of asked for those 2 nights. But in this case, they did send the message, and we weren't aware that he was even going to be brought on at all. And then why are we out of order with Mr. Ishibashi going? He should be going first anyways, if anything. But those are my objections. That's all.
Ms. Aluli?
Your Honor, I would have to, at least on behalf of my client, concur that it is difficult, that we weren't quite clear that Dr. Smith was being recalled today in light of the fact that Mr. Nance was unable to come because he was the one witness who was designated for today.
I see.
And so now the pro se clients are really working hard to not waste time, to keep within the 30 minutes, and to develop their questions and to refer to exhibit numbers. And I have to say it's, very organized. And this is and I also have spoken to them about it's a give and take, because when it comes time for January 2nd or January 3rd, the show is going to go on, and it's not that easy to orchestrate all of this. And that's because we're lawyers and have gone through this, juggling, for the pro ses, they've stepped up and really accommodated everything, and I know it's in the exercise of their desire to be prepared, and I think that's something that the hearings officer has to consider. And it was, I think, in doing the order today, I know it may be an inconvenience because Dr. Smith may not reside on this island, and Mr. Ishibashi does. But they really aren't prepared. I mean, I was madly, concerned about it myself.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ching?
Clarence Ching. I also object on 2 grounds. I also received notice that Mr. Elman and Dr. Smith were going to withdraw or be taken off the list on their direct testimonies, and that they were being reserved or something to that matter for rebuttal only if the applicant so chose. On the other hand, as late as yesterday, the applicant stated that Mr. Ishibashi was supposed to be on.
Yeah, you're repeating everything everyone else said.
No, I'm not. Well, so far, yes. But I'm going to add that I believe that when they put on Mr. Ishibashi into the schedule, and now they have taken him off, this is a second violation of the 48-hour rule, because I had no notice that he was going to be taken off. Thank you.
Mr. Fergstrom and then Mr. Kealoha.
I just concur.
Thank you. Mr. Kealoha.
Aloha. First of all, I really appreciate you helping us accommodate the schedule this morning, and I know that you're trying to accommodate everyone. I just wanted to put on the table that I'm also from off island. My printer is a 500-mile, no exaggeration, 248 miles each way, round trip. The printing shop here is open from 8 a.m., which gives me only 1 hour in the morning to go there and print, and it closes at 9 p.m., and I had no idea, and according to the same communication, Smith wasn't on, or I would have printed up and been ready. It's not that I'm not completely unprepared because I've read it, but as a pro se, I do need that time to print up and have access to that printer. Plus, we gotta sleep so that we can be professional and analytical. And I do realize that what goes for when you decide something for one person, that it kind of carries on and might affect us in the future. So it's not with any prejudice or unnecessary emotion that support this motion, and I hope you take into consideration that I also do not reside here, and the reasons I gave you where my printer is and where my files are. I think you and everybody here who's put time and money and invested more than that into this effort deserve my best preparation, and the witness himself deserves my best preparation. And thank you very much. That's my
All right,
concerns.
thank you, Mr. Kealoha. Ms. Kioi?
I also concur. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sinkin?
I think my concern is a precedent here of, I didn't even bring my materials for Mr. Smith because I was definitely under the impression he wasn't coming. And I think the precedent of having him go on, go off, go on, and suddenly he's here again is not a good precedent for the future.
Okay. And Mr. Louis Kwan? Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Freitas, I didn't see you. Mrs. Freitas?
Cindy Freitas, I concur.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Flores?
I just wanted to make a note for the record what we're referring to, which document we're referring to.
You don't need to make that record, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Louis Kwan? Oh, I'm very sorry, I didn't see Ms. Lightholm.
Lena Alice Lightholm, I concur.
Okay.
So, Judge, we did have Dr. Smith on the list previously. If you recall, we've had him writing on the second 5 lists for at least the last 3 weeks. And I noticed that really the petitioners, anyway, the 6 original, actually have testimony they submitted. They've actually have written direct testimony in response to Dr. Smith. So any claim that they aren't prepared, it doesn't seem to be supported by what they're actually offering as their testimony. And again, it's we haven't taken Mr. Ishibashi off. We're just asking that we have, Dr. Smith on because, again, he has to return today. But in the event that it's necessary to recall, if they need more time, we're willing to actually have him recalled if he's available when the recalled time is. But since he's here.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you finish, Mr. Louis Kwan?
That's it. So,
All
I mean,
right.
and again, I did mention yesterday we're calling, Dr. Smith because Mr. Nance couldn't make it. I heard no objections from anybody. In fact, Ms. Ward actually had noted that we had taken witnesses off that she wished to cross-examine. In response to that, we brought him.
I was under the impression yesterday that you were going to take Dr. Smith off your witness list completely. Is that still the fact? Or, I mean...
No, what we did was we said yesterday we're calling Dr. Smith today to bring him in to fill the gap so he wouldn't have a gap period.
Yes.
I didn't want to waste his hearing day.
But you're not intending to... I thought we discussed also the possibility he would be rebuttal in nature. So is that now a change, your intention?
There was a change that was mentioned yesterday. We would bring him in on his original written direct.
Okay, very good. Mr. Freitas?
Ms. Amano, you know already that I'm already confused on witnesses. And I sure am not prepared for Mr. Smith. Yesterday I focused on Ishibashi, and now Mr. Smith, and maybe tomorrow or Friday it's going to be some other character, I don't know. But it's really hard on a pro se person here.
Let me make it a little simpler for you. We're not having a hearing on Friday.
Oh, we're not? Oh my, now I'm more confused. Okay, well,
So-
I object.
All right, I hear you. Yeah, I understand. And Mr. Vicente?
Wait, Vicente, object too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first, I want to apologize to everyone because I do think that the hearing schedule that we've tried to set up has been difficult. The days have changed. Yesterday, we lost 4 days and we got 2 back. It's been hard. And it's especially difficult if you put yourself in the university's shoes, if you're the one putting on witnesses, because you have to juggle those witnesses. Their own schedules are going to make it difficult to be able to call them for you. So I apologize to the university for the mix-up that the hearing schedule has caused all of its witnesses. And of course, everyone down the row, including TIO, who made a point to say that they had people lined up as well. So I'm hoping that with our current situation and that we will be able to rectify this. But for the moment, our immediate issue is Dr. Smith, and I agree that bringing him on to testify at this time, given the explanations presented, would be would put some people at a disadvantage for not being prepared. And so first, I want to make clear that the university has made clear to us today that Dr. Smith is still part of their witness list, and they intend to put him on as part of their case in chief. So not rebuttal. Everybody got that? So Dr. Smith is going to be a witness, not rebuttal, and his direct testimony, as you already know, has been filed for some time. My plan now is to take a 1-hour recess for lunch and ask the university to get in touch with Mr. Ishibashi and see if he is able to testify this afternoon. Oh, he is? Where?
So Judge, he's here. He's willing to testify. He's ready to testify today. In fact, I was hoping that we'd get through Dr. Smith and also have time for Mr. Ishibashi as well.
Would you mind if we began with Mr. Ishibashi now until our lunch break then?
Certainly, we could start.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Lightholm, and then Ms. Pishota.
Alice Lightholm, thank you. So I just want to get clear the procedure that we're using, because we do get so many emails. For like November 9th, for example, we had 3 different emails from Ms. Imai. If there are going to be any changes, are we going to get something in writing emailed to us, or can they just verbally switch things?
Frankly, if I was a university, I wouldn't send you any more emails.
Yeah.
Because it only serves to hurt them.
Okay.
They're trying to be courteous and let you know as when they know what's going on. But apparently that's caused more confusion than help, and I don't think that was their intention. I don't speak for them, but it wouldn't be my intention if I was them. So we'll clear this up by this afternoon. Ms. Pishota?
I just want to state for the record, I'm not really sure how, I want to object to what Mr. Louis Kwan had stated, something about we're prepared, and I'm not sure how he would know that. But he's not at liberty to talk about what we're prepared for or not prepared for, and I object to his assertion. Thank you.
Mr. Kealoha?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, because I was under the impression that it wasn't just a courtesy that they inform us, but that you asked them and therefore required them to inform us, and that we are required to do the same thing about our witnesses.
They are not required to tell you they're not calling witnesses. And in fact, a lot of times, particularly in criminal cases, you submit a witness list before the trial, and you decide during the trial whether or not you're going to call those witnesses or not. And so by telling you in advance they're not calling someone, they're giving you quite a bit of information that they don't have to.
I understand, and I understand your experience in the judicial system, but I just want to put on the table that this is a pro se process that is supposed to help accommodate pro se, so please.
It's a contested case hearing, and I think we have made clear that we're being as fair as possible to everyone, but also when you were allowed in as a party, you understood that you would be representing yourself and yet required to follow certain procedures.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I'm just confused that I thought that was a directive and not a courtesy. And also, I would like to also clarify, what is this 48-hour notice? How does it apply here?
Maybe you can talk to somebody else, because this has come up a few times.
I don't feel I had 48 hours notice also, so mahalo.
Okay, Ms. Ward?
Mr. Kaloha is not the only one confused about the 48 hours. I think it was a courtesy that we were told that Dr. Iben and Dr. Smith will not be coming.
Yep.
And it was part of the 48-hour notice that they would not be on the schedule.
Not so.
Not so?
It's one thing, 48 hours is a scheduling issue. They did not have to tell you that they don't intend to call them as witnesses. There's a difference in my mind. But nonetheless, I'm not here to argue with you nor waste any more time. So may I move on to Mr. Ishibashi, please? Thank you. Sir, would you, may I have an offer of proof? I think you gave one yesterday, but if you don't mind repeating it, I'd appreciate
I'll do
that.
it again, Your Honor. We'd like to offer as our witness, the next witness, Wallace Ishibashi Jr., and he is a native Hawaiian descent, who is a cultural practitioner on Mauna Kea, and he will speak to Criterion 4.
Criterion 4, thank you. Oh, you're not Mr. Ishibashi? Mr. Freitas, who is this?
This is Dr. Smith.
I'm sorry, Dr. Smith. Thanks a lot for coming. Okay, so... So sorry.
I'd like to call Wallace Ishibashi Jr. to the stand.
Thank you.
This way. Wally.
Oh, it's okay. He'll get there.
Okay.
Could you state your name, please? The
I think it's
microphone. There's a switch.
Wallace Ishibashi.
And that would be Junior. And I've seen you before.
Yes.
Why?
Post office maybe, I don't know. Most wanted. I love you guys. Everybody talk to me. I'm ILW before.
So have I had arbitrations with you before?
I think it was some union, yeah, with the union.
I don't remember either. So I just want to, I'm sorry that your name was not familiar to me, but your face is. And so, but we're not social friends, right?
So, no. Judge, if I may add, Mr. Ishibashi was with Ms. Nagata during the site visit in October.
I didn't see you there either, but I'm not very observant about those things, and my vision's not great. But otherwise, I've seen you in an arbitration, maybe in the last 13 years sometime?
Oh, long, I think 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that disclosure, and clearly we don't know each other socially.
Yeah.
Sir, would you raise your right hand and repeat after, take the oath. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matters before this tribunal shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. And then just so that I'm really clear, that's the only way we know each other, or is there some other way?
No. Only through the union.
Okay. And I was the arbitrator, right? Not the union member?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, very good. And you have your declaration in front of you, sir?
Yes.
And could you turn to the last page, please? So how many total pages are there?
4. 3 with one signature.
Okay. And the microphone's a little tricky, I'm sorry, but anytime you speak, you need to speak into the mic so that our court reporter can take down what we all can hear. So my question to you is, on page 4, is that your signature?
Yes.
And by signing that document, you're saying that everything in that document is true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So can you provide a brief summary, Mr. Ishibashi, of your testimony?
Yeah, you have up to 10 minutes to provide a summary of your statements.
Okay. Aloha, I'm II. Everybody know me as II, so the family. Born and raised in Kilkaha. I learned about the culture and customs in the traditional way from my grandparents and members of my family. Our family roots are in Waipio Valley, in Hamakua. Beyond that, my mother's side is from Minoli. That's Kiekie Pohina family. I get a hard time with these lights over there, actually. It's a small fishing village in South Corner where they still practice traditional fishing. I'm also a cultural practitioner from the lineage of Poliahu on Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea is a very special place for me and our family. As descendants of Poliahu, our family would visit Oamakua every year. I visit our ancestral guardians, our Amakuas on Mauna Kea, whenever I am. So access to the mountain is very important part of my cultural practice. The construction of telescopes on Mauna Kea has not diminished my ability to practice my culture, to worship or to pay my respect to our ancestral spirits. In fact, the telescope have made it easier to continue my cultural practice at the summit area of Mauna Kea. Before the construction of the summit road, grandparents and family, they would had to either walk or ride horses to get to the summit. But now the telescope, they maintain the road so that we can drive to the summit. But now, because of the telescopes, they maintain, they maintain the road that we can drive to the top. They even keep it open in the winter after the snow plows clear the roadway. In all years of visiting Mauna Kea, no one has interfered with or disrespected my cultural practices. However, I do feel that one's right to practice one's culture need to be balanced, and other things such as safety on a mountain. For example, when the Mauna Kea access road needs to be temporarily closed because of snow. As a young boy fishing at Minoli with my grandfather, I learned the old way, and was taught by my grandfather and father to respect knowledge. Later, when the voyaging canoe Hokulea left for the South Pacific from Minoli, my hunger for knowledge grew. Prior to their trip, Papa Mao and Nainoa Thompson sat with us in the evening and started teaching us about the stars and moons and currents and how important the study of the heavens was to the ancient Hawaiians. It is this quest for knowledge That is the main reason I support the TMT, because I will help my grandchildren learn more about ourselves, our God, and what they're beyond the stars. But what we can see with only our eyes. The telescopes on Mauna Kea represents mankind's most advanced search for knowledge and understanding. That learning has been and will continue to be an important part of our cultural practice. In a way, the TMT project is like a search for the Amakua or ancestral origins of the universe. However, the difference from us as Native Hawaiians searching for our own roots in things both naturally and spiritually. I mean, no disrespect to anyone's religion, beliefs, or cultural practices, but everyone has their own way of worshiping, and everyone is free to have and practice their own religious beliefs as long as they don't hurt anyone. Not all knowledge is contained in any one halau. I am deeply offended based on the current activities surrounding the two newly created ahus in 2015. The use of iwi kupuna as a political ploy to halt construction is one of the highest forms of disrespect to our kupunas and culture. Also, I don't agree that we should oppose things like the TMT on Mauna Kea, because it's a modern thing, as Hawaiians have always been a creative and adaptive people. In Waipio, we use modern equipment like tillers and backhoes to grow taro, but still consider this to be traditional and cultural, as it shows us to survive and follow the ways and lifestyles of our ancestors. And in Minoli, where they still use canoes to fish, the opelu, aku, and ahi, we use modern outboard motors instead of paddling. This does not make fishing in Minoli any less traditional or the lifestyle any less Hawaiian. So we must learn to use the tools that God has given us. I am proud to support yet another tool that will only add to our search for knowledge. And I am proud that we as Hawaiians will have the opportunity to have this project built on the best place in the world, right here on Mauna Kea. Kalamai, forgive me for how time for see with these lights behind me, but Kalamai, I'm sorry, and I ask for forgiveness if I offended anyone in my statements. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ishibashi. Mr. Shinyama, you have something to say? Oh, please come to the stand so you can say no questions.
We have no questions for Mr. Ishibashi.
Thank you, Mr. Shinyama. And Ms. Ward?
Aloha, Mr. Ishibashi. My name is Deborah Ward.
Yes.
Thank you. You've stated in your testimony that you are a cultural practitioner, both of the sea and of the Mauna. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is it also true that you worked for about 20 years as the labor union business agent and division director for ILWU Local 142?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is it true that you're currently employed by the applicant, the University of Hawaii at Hilo?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Office of Mauna Kea Management.
Can you tell us about your role as the Senior Advisor and Cultural Officer for the Office of Mauna Kea Management?
Okay. Well, I just oversee the best management practices of conducting business on a mountain. So whatever the venue you use to access the mountain or do any type of work on a mountain is pretty much my kuleana to go and make sure that you're following the best practices.
What documents do you use in order to ensure that that is happening, or do you have that from your na'au?
No, but also the CMP, the Comprehensive Management Plan.
Okay.
And the sub-plans.
Okay. And what sub-plans are those?
You get the public access, natural resources, culture resources, forget the other one.
Decommissioning. Yeah. So how do you implement the cultural resource plan that you are directed to use in your work, which is Exhibit A11?
We do the orientation program or training for the workers. Anybody working, all employees on a mountain has to go through this orientation program to help them understand natural resources and cultural resources on a mountain.
Mm-hmm. So you work with the employees who work for the university?
Anybody working up on the mountain, the summit region, in the telescopes or at Halipohaku.
Okay. Does that include construction workers or any, contractors who are employed to bring trucks up for whatever reason? Or?
Yes.
So how do you interact with them?
They sign up for one of our classes and they come and attend and get certified that they are that they went through the orientation. They receive a sticker. All TMT employees receive a sticker of access to the job site, that they understand the procedures that they have to follow, the best management practices.
Okay. And what other interactions do you have with the public, for example?
Not too much with the public. It's more accessing the summit region, HP, Halipohaku region.
Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to the comprehensive management plan. Sorry, I had that number. I think it's A9. and it would be section 1-3. If I don't know if what I'd like to do is I think it would be easier, since the lights are hard for you, I was going to ask you to read, but perhaps it would be easier if I read it to you. So it's Exhibit A9, which is the Mauna Kea Comprehensive Management Plan, Section 1.2.2, which is Contemporary Cultural Practices, which is page 1-3. And it says it may have been in ancient times, the Mauna Kea landscape is today considered by many in the Hawaiian community to be the most sacred and culturally significant location on the island of Hawaii, if not in the whole of Hawaii. While, as Maui states, this attachment to the mountain landscape is rooted in antiquity and remains important to the lives of Native Hawaiians today who attribute spiritual and cultural values to Mauna Kea. The practices identified here as contemporary are either not part of a documented long-standing family tradition, are modern adaptations of ancient practices, or are new activities not traditionally practiced. Nonetheless, these contemporary cultural practices are significant to the practitioners and their families and may ultimately be the foundation for future traditional practices. Chief among the contemporary practices is the use of the whole of Mauna Kea as a spiritual and religious site of prayer and contemplation, which includes the building of family ahus, or altars, and the placement of offerings to honor families, or as a form of personal spiritual worship. Other practices include the collection of basalts from Keanakakoi, the scattering of ashes of cremated remains of family and friends, and subsistence and recreational hunting. So that's that whole section. And the question I need to ask you is, as a cultural advisor to the Office of Mauna Kea Management, did you advise the office regarding the recently constructed ahu you mentioned in your testimony?
Did I consult with OM? That was the question?
Did you advise them?
Yes.
And what advice did you give?
That it is a cultural appropriate, just not in the right location.
I see. Did you take part in the removal of that ahu?
No.
Okay. As an employee, is it your responsibility to ensure that the contemporary practice can be accommodated in accordance with the comprehensive management plan?
Yes.
And also in accordance with constitutional rights?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So I would like to draw your attention to an article published by the Hawaii Independent on April 26, 2015.
Is that an article this witness has seen?
I'm going to show it.
And you're expecting him to read it during the, before you ask him questions about it?
You know, I would have submitted it as an exhibit if I had known that today was the day. I'm all prepared for Dr. Nance. So I made 3 copies, one from Ishibashi, one for the judge, and one for the reporter. And that's the best I could do at 8 o'clock this morning.
All right, and so what is this article, please?
The article is Mauna Kea and the Awakening Lahui, and it's from the Hawaii Independent, April 26, 2015.
And if this witness hasn't seen the article, what do you intend to ask him about it?
It pictures Mr. Ishibashi at an OHA meeting, and the OHA meeting is discussing the Mauna Kea and the 30-meter telescope.
I understand.
Mr. Ishibashi was testifying at that meeting.
Mr. Louis Kwan.
I would object on the basis of hearsay.
I'm going to allow it. Would you give Mr. Louis Kwan the copy you intended to give to me? I don't need it. And then perhaps you can hand the copy to Mr. Ishibashi. And may I also, yes, Mr. Freitas?
Have that projected?
Well, let's find out first what we're doing. And are you intending to focus on a particular area?
I just wanted to refer to 2 things that were quoted in the article and ask if he concurred that was his testimony.
And is it possible, is it all on one page?
It's on 2 pages, and they're side by side, and they're clipped with a paper clip.
How about if we go 1 page at a time? Would that be okay with you?
That'd be great.
All right. And
So the paper clip that has the photograph of Mr. Ishibashi, I'm sorry, but it didn't have page numbers.
Let us set up the projector so that we can get it going.
Do I need to press a button?
So, Judge, I have no idea whether or not this is a complete document or if anything was left out. It's not paginated. There's no other references aside from what appears to be just a simple heading of a date and the name Hawaii Independent.
And you haven't seen this before either?
I've never seen this document before, ever.
Well, it's the nature of trial. I'm going to allow you to ask questions. But may I ask your assistance, Mr. Louis Kwan, to turn the projector on? And if we could fiddle with it a little to improve the sharpness. I hope it's not just my eyes. I know, it's bad. Okay.
Oh. But this is not the article you
put it
asked me
face
about.
up. Oh.
Yeah.
This one.
Oh. I didn't even know.
And Judge, I'm not sure what the best way to document an article on the web is. If I knew, I would do it better. These are articles that are in the public domain on the web, and what I did was I transcribed them into a Word document. Didn't transcribe, I copied them into a Word document, and I'm not sure if there is a better way to do it. But if there is, I'd be happy to do it.
I'm open to hearing everything, but we have to be sure the process is fair and everyone has copies, opportunity, and particularly to the witness. It would be the equivalent of handing him Moby Dick,
right,
and saying, I'm going to ask you a question about Moby Dick, have you read it? And he hasn't. Right?
Well,
so we can't.
Yeah,
that's
it does quote
the idea.
him, and so I'm just trying to find out if the quote is correct.
All right, so that's fair enough, and let's...
so on the page...
Wait, hang on a second. Is that as clear as we can get it? Not you, Mr. Ishibashi. Okay. I feel like I'm at the eye doctor. One or two. Two is good. Thanks. All right. So go ahead, Ms. Ward.
So, Mr. Ishibashi, in this article that was written by the Hawaii Independent, there's a
Can we
photograph.
ask you if you've ever seen that article before?
No.
Okay. There is a photograph of you testifying, and what I'm trying to find out is if this is correct.
Can you ask him if that's him?
Oh, do you, the paper page that had the paperclip on it, do you know if that is your photograph?
Yes.
Okay. And it says Hawaiian Homes Commissioner Wallace Ishibashi Jr. was one of only a few Hawaiians who testified in support of the TMT project. And then on the next page, it says, Ishibashi's testimony centered around the financial benefit of the telescope would provide. And the Kukia'i Mauna supporters in the audience held up whatever money they had in their wallets in protest. Was that a correct depiction of your experience at the OHA meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry it took so long to get there. So, as a cultural advisor to the university, do you counsel the university that financial benefits are part of a traditional cultural or customary practice?
No.
Okay. So, in your role as cultural advisor, is the financial benefit of a development part of your position and as an employee?
No.
Okay. Is one of your jobs as cultural advisor to the university to organize members of the business community to form groups in support of the 30-meter telescope?
No.
Okay. But you have stated in your testimony that you support the 30-meter telescope, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you swear that this was your own testimony?
This one?
Which time?
Today.
What I read?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that you signed it?
Yes.
And did you sign it in October of 16, sorry.
This was the same testimony I used in the first, but yes, was signed on October, re-signed on October.
Okay. Well, that may explain things. You stated that you think Hawaiians should not oppose, and I quote, things like Mauna Kea just because it's a modern thing. Is that correct from your testimony? Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, Mr. Freitas?
I don't believe Mr. Ishibashi swore in.
I swore him in.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Everything's going too fast.
Sorry. I think I recall doing that. Ms. Ward, is that your recollection as well?
I know you asked him if he had signed his document.
Before that, I asked him to raise his right hand.
Okay.
Is that your recollection, Mr. Ishibashi?
Yes.
Okay. Have you interacted with folks, including perhaps those in this room, that believe their religious and cultural practices are reason for opposition?
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone told you they oppose the telescope because it's a modern thing?
Modern technology, yes.
Oh, they have. Okay. So are you aware that there are many Native Hawaiians, including cultural and religious practitioners, who oppose the development of the 30-meter telescope for reasons other than the fact that it's a modern thing?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain how your work as the cultural advisor for the university outreach efforts incorporated diversity of views about your culture? How do you tell people that there are many ways of looking at it?
Oh, yes, there are many different ways, but that's part of the orientation program that we go through using the cultural resources under the sub-plan.
So may I direct your attention to a paragraph on page 2 that starts with, "I mean no disrespect."
Paragraph 2
on his written direct testimony.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. And I know it's hard to read up there. Would you mind reading that paragraph for me?
Second paragraph of the first.
Yeah, the one that starts with, "I mean no disrespect."
Why does he have to read the whole paragraph?
Well,
if you want to ask him a question about it, you may. It speaks for itself.
Okay, does that paragraph represent your testimony, your personal testimony?
The telescopes on Mauna Kea, that paragraph?
Yeah, the one about "I mean no disrespect." On page 2.
Page 2.
Yeah, it's it looks like a third paragraph, just around the middle.
I mean no disrespect?
Yes, that
Okay.
paragraph.
Okay, what was the question?
Okay. Does that represent your own personal testimony?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to an article that came out in the Tribune Herald, and we're in the same situation. I've got 3 copies, and one of them I've got highlighted, which I would like you to look at.
Offer
Mr.
proof.
Luquan.
Offer proof.
And what is this article, please, Ms. Ward?
The article is called "Native Hawaiians for the 30-Meter Telescope Ask to Join the Case. Group Says Mauna Kea No More Sacred Than the Rest of the Island." And this is from the Tribune Herald, published on May 21st, 2016.
And what is it you intend to ask this witness about that? I gather he didn't write the article.
No, but it does quote someone from the organization called PUEO, and it quotes a direct statement from someone else named Mr. Brown. And that statement is exactly the same words that was used by Mr. Ishibashi, and I'd like to find out who actually wrote those words. So I'd like to show you just so that you can see.
No, you need to hand that to Mr. Louis Kwan first.
I object on the basis of hearsay.
It's like multiple levels of hearsay, but I'm allowing that. If we can find...
May I read it?
Yeah, if you wish.
Okay. "I mean no disrespect for anyone's religious beliefs or cultural practices, but everyone has their own way of worshiping."
You need to read slowly, please.
Okay. "I mean no disrespect for anyone's religious beliefs and cultural practices, but everyone has their own way of worshiping, and everyone is free to have and practice their own religious beliefs so long as they don't hurt anyone," said Mr. Brown in a declaration attached to the motion to intervene. "But I don't agree that we should oppose things like the TMT on Mauna Kea just because it's a modern thing, as Hawaiians have always been creative and adaptive people." Does that sound like what you have in your written direct testimony?
Yeah, sure does.
Did you say that at the PUEO meeting, or did Mr. Brown say that?
Well, first of all, did you establish that this gentleman was at that meeting?
May I ask you if this is your photograph?
All you had to do was ask him if he was at the meeting.
Were you at the meeting?
Yes.
Thanks. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm doing my best. So does that statement sound like your statement or Mr. Brown's statement?
Sounds like mine, because this was the original statement from the first contested case.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry to, well, anyway, sorry. I come from an English background. I say sorry before everything I say.
It's okay.
Can you explain how in your testimony in October, can you explain in your testimony written and signed in October, but I think you have, that you used, I guess you did say that you used the same testimony for the first contested case hearing? I see.
Yes.
Okay. So how did Mr. Brown get a copy, perhaps, of your testimony?
Objection. Again, it's...
How would this gentleman know that?
I don't know, except he was there at the meeting, and and the reporter is reporting on the meeting. I'm trying to find it out myself.
Calls for speculation.
If you know, Mr. Ishibashi.
I don't know how Mr. Brown got this, but this was public records from the first contested case, I believe.
When you say this, you're referring to your statement?
Yes.
Your written statement?
My written statement.
All right.
Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to a letter in the Big Island Chronicle on June 26, 2016, announcing the Big Island Community Coalition. The letter is signed by Richard Ha, who is also director of PUEO, yourself, and some others on page 2. May I show it to you?
Why are you doing it, Ms. Ward? Offer of proof, please.
Because I want to ask him about statements made in the letter that he signed. It's a letter to the editor. It's published in the Big Island Chronicle.
You need to establish first that he signed it.
Okay. May I show it to him so he can acknowledge whether or not he signed it?
Yeah.
It says, signed by the Big Island Community Coalition, Richard Ha, President, David DeLuz Jr., Rockne Freitas, Michelle Galimba, Wallace Ishibashi, Noe Kalipi, H.R. Monty Richards, and William Walter.
What's the objection?
There's no objection. So there's no signature. A signature is different than some kind of typewritten
Yes, that's
words.
true. Are there any signatures in the newspaper when there are letters to the editor?
Are you asking me a question? That's not going to be permitted.
Okay. All right, I'm trying.
All right, so you may ask him if he's aware of that letter.
Okay.
And if in fact it says his signatures, it says he's one of the authors.
Okay.
And then you can ask him if indeed he was.
Can I ask you to have a look at the letter? And I'll give you some time to think about it. The title is New Coalition Opposes Those Who Blunt Progress. And on the second page, it has a list of people who supposedly signed a letter to the Big Island Chronicle, to the editor. Are you familiar with that letter?
Yes.
Okay.
And are you, in fact, one of the authors? I'm asking you the question.
This was written by Mr. Ha.
And he
I am, yes, this was part of the committee we formed doing energy.
So you would acknowledge some degree of authorship of that letter?
Richard wrote that letter.
But your
yes, we all
on behalf
we all
of
signed,
your,
yeah.
And
yes.
so you acknowledge that?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
So there are three parts to the letter. The first part is about geothermal. The second part is about genetically modified organisms. And the third part is about the 30-meter telescope. On the second page of that letter, and you're welcome to display it if you'd like, it says, anti-groups often obscure the lack of scientific evidence to support their position by using emotional pleas intended to incite fear. And do you believe that Hawaiian cultural and religious practitioners need to have scientific evidence in order to demonstrate their rights to constitutionally protected practice?
No.
Okay. Do you expect that they would have scientific proof?
No.
Okay. Another sentence in that letter says, cultures that fall backward are those who fear advancement, fear change, and cling to a mythicized view of yesteryear. As cultural advisor to the university, do you advise that cultural practitioners that do not embrace new technology are clinging to a mythicized view of yesteryear?
No.
And the last highlighted sentence is, driving the TMT out will be one more major step to cultural and economic poverty. Can you explain what cultural poverty is?
And again, the advancement of knowledge for grandchildren and children, that's the key. We're losing that aspect of the stars.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a recess, but during the noon recess, please be sure to have those exhibits marked next in order, and please give them to Mr. Lemos so they can be uploaded into the record. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, we're in recess until 1 o'clock, please.